Lucia, just don't freak out. But just to be fair, I want to. There's some Christians in this room, and I want to talk to you. Just to be fair, okay? So there was this book that came out in 2010, and it was called "The Boy Who Came Back from Heaven." Oh, did you want to see what gravitational waves look like? Now, understand that's a drawing. You know why? Because they don't have a picture of gravitational waves. To be fair, in 2010, this book came out. It's a boy who came back from heaven, a true story. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you what happened here. It was written by two people called Kevin and Alex Malarkey. I want you to notice that last name, Malarkey. Malarkey means meaningless talk and nonsense. So, the book sold over 1 million copies. It did. They made it into a movie. 5 years later, 2 months ago, January 2015, Alex, the child who died and went to heaven and came back with a message for us, he wrote a letter. He's like, the book's not true.
Wow.
Okay. So Tyndale House, the publisher, they immediately pulled the books and they were done. And like, hey, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. The 29 Minutes in Hell, that's a good book, but not this one. Okay? So my message to you is give it time. Take a deep breath. Give it time. When what I believe and what I learn don't match up, give it some time. The third thing I got to ask you to do is learn everything you can about an idea. Explore all ideas fairly and get to know the Bible as well. Know what you believe and why. If you believe in the Bible, be able to say why. If you believe in science, right? You got people who believe in science, know why. And if you're one of those people that says both because you're trying to cover all your bases, you got to be able to back it up and say, I know why. Okay? So in my intercultural communication class, I asked my students to answer these questions. What is the purpose of life and what happens after you die? And I'm amazed at how many of us, as smart adults, myself included, have a really hard time answering that question. And I say, tell me, give me your answers. And we write them up on the board, and it's just kind of depressing. What happens after we die? And I ask them, why do you think this? Why do you think this? And then we have a lot of people who can't back up stuff, right? I don't know if I can either. And I want you to ask yourself. So test yourself. And not only do you learn everything you can about what you believe, you learn everything you can about the other side as well. In my argumentation class, I trick them. I have them write the claim that they want to support, and they want to do a research paper on. They get all pumped up, and I take in all their claims, whatever they may be, pro-life, pro-choice, do this, don't do that. I take in all their claims, and I say, this is the deal. All of you are going to argue for the exact opposite. And, oh my God, you've got to be kidding. It's impossible. And I say, really, it's impossible? No one can think differently than you. That's what you're telling me. You're telling me that whatever you believe about DC Comics or Marvel or the, is Xbox better than, you think nobody actually thinks differently than you. That's problematic. So if you're pro-choice, learn everything you can about being pro-life. I kid you not. Okay? You're pro-life. Did you even take the time to understand what somebody else might believe? If you're going to have a useful conversation, you got to know both. Okay? The fourth thing you have to do, if you find a difference in faith and academics, is engage in conversations and ask lots of questions. Okay? Don't avoid communication just because people believe something different. We tend to avoid conversations that are different. Why? Because we don't want to get in a fight, stuff like that. But you know what? You got to try talking without getting in a fight. It's possible. Okay? We have spent way too much time avoiding things. You're taught that when you go to a dinner party, there's 3 things you can't talk about. What are they? What are the 3 things you can't talk about at a dinner party? Religion, politics, money. Okay? Sex is probably 4. That's fine. All those count. All those count, no problem. But check it out. What are some of our biggest problems in the world right now? Politics, religion, sex, and money. Why? Because we don't talk about this stuff. We don't talk about this stuff because we don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to argue with you. I don't want to hear your different opinion. That's too much for me. But if you want to be good at this, you got to engage in conversations. Now, you don't have to be afraid. That's one of the things. People are afraid. They're like, hey, when I get in these conversations, I don't know what to say to people, right? Because they're going to say this thing about gravitational waves, and I don't know what to say back to them. And I totally get it. But this is my tip for you, and this is free. Free from Uncle Anthony today. When you're in one of these conversations, Ask more questions than you tell answers. I kid you not. Ask more questions than you tell answers. And I think you get this idea, right? Because you can't argue someone into believing what you believe. It's very hard to do. You have this great point, they have this great point, you get mad, then you never talk to each other. And what's the point of that? But I'm going to ask you to do this. As a communication professional, ask questions. Because what's going to happen is we will all trip over ourselves eventually, myself included. But if I ask more questions, someone will argue with me because they're the one who's talking, right? So I'll give you an example. So someone's like, yeah, I love evolution. I don't like God. Ask them questions. Be like, hey, I was just wondering, how did we get here? The Big Bang. The Big Bang. What happened with the Big Bang? Can you tell me about that? Oh, well, there's this explosion because of gravity and black holes, and then there's this matter, and then we turn into humans. Oh, that's pretty cool. This is interesting to me because, you know what? I have a question for you. I'm not going to tell you what I just have a question for you. Apparently, evolution takes billions and billions of years, doesn't it? Yeah. And I've been to the Smithsonian, some of our best museums in the world, and I always see that graphic, you know what I'm talking about, where there's like the gorilla, and then they start to stand straight up and they turn into a human. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, evolution, that's what I'm talking about. You know what, if it took billions of years for that to happen, I feel like there should be billions of Neanderthals freaking everywhere. I feel like there's so, we see lots of dinosaurs, but we only got like 5 Neanderthals. I feel like over billions of years, there would be billions of them, and I could just dig in my backyard and find like 3 of them. Why is that? That I can't find them? It's because evolution sped up real quick for like 1,000 years, and it was like boom, and then all of a sudden we're all here, but. And there's bodies out, we just haven't found them. I don't know, okay? But I kid you not, try this. Ask more questions. Even the person who has the biggest opinions and the best science, they seem so smart. Eventually, we will all trip over ourselves. Having said that, I want to talk to all of you about how you don't trip over yourselves when people ask you questions. Because they're going to listen to the same talk, you know what I'm saying? Okay. My faith and my academics, they don't line up. What should I do? Understand the system before we try to change it. Don't worry, give it some time. Give it some time. The truth will come out. Learn everything you can on both sides of an issue and engage in conversations. Don't be afraid. When you're afraid, ask questions. Okay? That's the best thing to do. I don't know what to say. Good, don't say anything. Right? There's a reason you don't know what to say. Don't try to capitalize and try to make up some stuff. Everybody knows you're making up stuff. Right? So ask questions. Ask questions. Okay?